Hello, and welcome to When Grooms Get Engaged, the podcast about a guy's perspective to wedding planning from two guys that just survived their own. I'm Steve.
And I'm Chris. Each week we will talk about how we navigated a different part of the wedding planning journey, what we learned in the process, and what maybe we wish we had done differently. Let's get to this week's topic in video. Steve, what's new? Let's just catch up first, maybe. What's going on in your life?
Well, Chris, I'm married. Officially a husband, had my wedding. All of the years of planning finally had their culmination, their endpoint. We spent 2 weeks in Greece, kind of doing all the events, all the parties, saying hi to everyone, had our I-dos and everything. And now we're back home. We're back in real life. But I think we're just going to kind of talk about our wedding days, what we learned, what we didn't learn, what we wish we were done differently, and, just reminisce and offer some advice to people.
All right, so tell our listeners and our viewers, when did you get married?
So we got married July 7th of 2024 in the middle of a pretty hot Greek summer. We got married in the island of Corfu, which is on not the Santorini side of Greece. It's facing Italy. So it's much more green, right? And it has a lot of Italian influence. I believe there was a show, what was it called? Like the Durrells, Meet the Durrells or something, some like BBC show that was big in like the 80s and 90s. I remember I was telling my coworker where we got married, and she's older, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like this one show, the Durrells, they were on Corfu." I was like, "Oh, I've never heard of this before," but okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we got married in July. It was very hot, but it was beautiful. It was amazing. I loved it.
So you said you got married in Corfu. Like, I guess, help our viewers walk us through the process of how you chose that venue.
Man, we went to Greece in 2023. We did 3 islands. We did Paro, Santorini, and Corfu. And before we even got engaged, I would kind of like joke with my fiance a little bit, and I'd be like, how great would it be if we could get married in Greece, or not in Greece, but like in Europe generally? And she's like, yeah, maybe, like wasn't 100% on board with the idea. Like she never thought about it. And then by the time we were at Corfu, which was the 3rd island on our trip, we stayed at this gorgeous resort, right? And the resort was brand new, and it was kind of like advertising that they have wedding packages. And she's like, if we were to get married here, would it be too bad? So like,
Got that opening.
It kind of got like planted a little bit in her mind that, this might not be the worst thing. Cause like, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. The weather is amazing. They have like 1 day of rain during the summer, and Corfu itself, like I said, is very green. So it has like these gorgeous mountains. So like the idea was kind of planted. So then we kind of went home and we started jotting down of like, when are we going to get married? How much do we want to spend to get married? Like, what's our timeline? And we didn't bring up, getting married overseas at all. We just kind of focused on Chicago. So we started looking at venues. We started kind of calling people, getting price sheets, just kind of doing like preliminary boots on the ground research. And very quickly, we realized that getting married in Chicago would be very expensive. So we were like, if we're going to spend this much money anyway, why don't we maybe look at what getting married in Greece would look like, or somewhere else in Europe, right? We weren't sold on Corfu specifically at first, just like Greece generally, because it's like, you're spending all this money, right? We knew we had a friend who might also be getting married in Greece. So like on the back of my mind, it's also like, well, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be there already, so we can like double dip, which is nice.
Yeah.
So it's not like we went into it to get married in Corfu, but it kind of like slowly kind of led to getting married.
Kind of evolved into that, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think, did you think about your guest list at all and who might be able to attend with like an international wedding? Because that would be probably everyone's like, once you decide or are debating an international wedding, you might have to think about like how that affects your guest list, right? Did that kind of cross your minds at all? Or because you have family overseas that it wasn't really a big deal?
Yes, in the opposite direction. So if we were to get married here in Chicago, my parents specifically told me this. They're like, hey, like if you get married here, obviously we have to invite more people. Getting married overseas was also a way to kind of trim down some of like the edges of the guest list, because like realistically, not as many people are going to come. Specifically in Greece and the islands, the venues aren't as large, right? Or like it's not as easy to find a large venue.
What were the typical like venue sizes that you were seeing? I guess that's interesting.
Yeah, so our venue had a max capacity of 200.
Okay.
Now, Chris, you've been to our venue.
Yeah.
Our wedding was about 105. And realistically, I can't imagine that venue with 200 people, right? It'd be too crowded. You wouldn't have much room to dance. So, like, with a dance floor with all the extras and all that stuff, realistically, I think that venue caps out at like 120, 130. There are some big resorts on the island that you could probably have, much bigger group folks, but like 200 is probably where you're looking at, like, comfortably cap out at. But like here in the States, two, three, 400 people venues, you can find those easily. And I know for us and my family, we could easily get to 200 people, 250 people like on the invite list, and that just balloons everything. So in a way, destination wedding was also nice to like trim the wedding list a little bit.
Yeah. That's interesting because I would have thought, again, the stereotypes in my mind, right, are like huge Greek weddings where the whole like, village comes out and all that sort of thing. And it seems like to balloon your guest list if you were there to do it there. And that would mean that there would be venues that could accommodate like, that size. But that's very interesting that you were finding venues a little bit smaller, at least in Corfu and maybe in other areas in Greece.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, we're not from Corfu, right? We have
Right.
no family there.
Right.
If we were to get married in Athens, my dad has like cousins. I have my godfather, which to be fair, I haven't spoken to my godfather in a while. But like we have family there. I have my mom's side in Albania, right? So like we actually I actually looked at Albania a little bit too, but like I didn't really like what I was seeing. But yeah, Corfu, we had no one there essentially, which also helped limit it. So there's no one. The other thing that a lot of people like to do overseas is like your parents would just tell their friends, and be like, "Hey, I'm marrying my son or daughter. Come to the wedding." It's like a sign of respect. And like again, since we're not from Corfu, like that wasn't an issue. It was never like a fear, which is nice.
Talk us through like what were some of the challenges then of planning an international wedding? Because it's got to be tough not being there or like knowing the location if you're not from there.
Yeah, you're always scared shitless that you're getting conned, because you're not there. Like you need a wedding planner, right? There's no offense or buts about it. You have to find a wedding planner that you like, that you trust.
Yeah.
And
Why did you find one that you trusted?
yeah, so we Googled, obviously, but my wife is really, really good at using Instagram as well. And generally, all these like European vendors, a lot of their businesses are Instagram focused. So let's say you see a vendor, like you'll see their website, and the website might look good, right? Obviously, but then you like Instagram them and you'll see their actual portfolio. You'll see how current it is. Like you might Instagram someone and the last post is like 5 or 6 years ago. Well, that's probably not something you should be reaching out to. So we actually reached out to a couple wedding planners in Corfu and another one in Paros, which is another island we went to that we also really love. Paros is beautiful. Personally, I hate Santorini. Just go to Paros instead. In all honesty, like, okay.
Just get that one picture of the blue dome, and then like you're good, right? Like that's all Santorini is.
So here's the thing with the white and blue houses. From what I understand, it was a symbol of strength by the Greeks to the Turks that like, hey, you can see us, we're Greek, screw you, right? So like Santorini will have those, yes, but Paros will have those as well. And a lot of those islands on that side will have the white and blue. Don't get me wrong, Santorini is gorgeous. It is one of the most like unique places in the world. Just like in general, it's like awe-inspiring. It's just too commercialized, a little too touristy. Now it's too expensive. You can get a lot of the similar feel in the other islands on that side of Greece, as you could with Santorini. It's too crowded. Anyway, irrelevant. So we reached out to a wedding planner in Paros as well, and we didn't like him. He like wanted us to pay him before he can like give us any details, which didn't
Red
make any
flag.
sense to us. Yeah, big red flag. We're like, oh, I don't know about that. But the two that we spoke to in Corfu, we had like hour-long calls with each of them. We kind of laid out our plans. We're like, hey, our budget is about this. Is this reasonable? They're like, yeah. They gave us price sheets and like different venue options. And the price sheets generally mirrored each other a little bit. Like they weren't identical, but they were in the same ballpark, which to me is like a point of, commonality. It's a point of being like, okay, I trust you two because you're not each telling me like two very different things.
Makes you feel more confident. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And so we kind of talked to both of them for like a week, kind of figuring out their cadence, how they communicate, seeing if like we mesh, we vibe. And then ultimately we decided on one that we thought would work better for us, just based on like, we liked the way, she was responding to emails more. There's nothing wrong with the other one. Like she was also wonderful. We just felt like with the one that we ended up choosing, we just got along better.
Yeah, that's great. It seems like finding that right person to be your coordinator overseas is going to like make or break the wedding, right? And also like help you either have high stress or gonna like help bring those levels down a little bit by having someone you trust and knows, obviously probably has a lot of connections in that local area, which then also help you fill in some other gaps and some other vendors, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing with Greece, with all these places, you need those connections, like why would some random owner just get back to you, some random dude from America, like you need someone
Are
to
you
put you in
serious? Is
contact.
this real? Yeah.
And also with an island, realistically, they're done like business wise from October till Easter, which is anywhere from like early April to mid March. I'm sorry, early April to mid May. You're not going to get a response before though. The business is closed up. It's not a tourist season on the island. Like, okay, then you're kind of screwed. And by the time we actually made a decision on Corfu, it was already September, which is the tail end of the tourist season at that point. Like people were getting ready to like close up shop. So you need a good wedding planner because like we also can't go, fly to Europe every other week and just kind of like sit down with these vendors.
As much as we would love to.
Yeah, exactly. As much as we would love to.
Was that in the budget? The travel, round trip airfare every, 2 weeks?
Here's the funny thing about the budget. There were certain items that we just paid out of the budget, which kind of made it look smaller than it really was. But take us into Greece. So we decided on our wedding planner, and then we also decided on the venue. So she gave us like a bunch of venue options, and my wife, she just fell in love with this villa. And the good thing about the villa is that it also would sleep like 16 people, so we could bring our families there, have lodging as well. And personally, like the villa was nice, but like it didn't look that great from pictures for me. But like we kind of made our decisions on a lot of the vendors. And then we booked a trip to fly out there in October, and like early October. Flying to Greece from Chicago in October, super cheap. It was like $500 a person. It was amazing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it was, because like no one goes there. Like, why would you go to an island? The problem is flying to an island in October is a pain in the butt because there's not many flights into the islands, right? You're like always gonna have to go into Athens. They fly like every other day. There's like 1 or 2 flights maybe.
What's the weather there around that time, like in that October period?
So it's potentially very rainy. That's kind of when the rainy season starts, right? But weather-wise is, I want to say, like 60s, 70s. Like it's not bad at all, but it's not like beach weather.
Got it.
Anyway, so we went there in October, and we had all of our tastings. We saw the venue. In person, the venue is beautiful, right? In person, it looks so good. In pictures, for whatever reason, like, I wasn't smitten. Oh, but in person, like it was so much better, so much nicer. So I'm glad we picked that venue. We did a tasting for the food. We did a tasting for the alcohol. Let me think, what else did we do?
The most fun part.
Yeah, no, the alcohol was fun. I thought our bartenders were actually really good. I thought our food was solid as well. I'm trying to think, what else did we do? And then we also met our wedding planner in person, which is also very important because you kind of get a vibe, you get a feel for them. Yeah. And throughout all this, it's like the wedding planner is definitely the most important person.
Do you feel like, having met them in person at that point in time, you would have felt comfortable also backing out if it didn't feel right?
At that point in time, we had paid for some deposits. Mm-hmm. If it didn't feel right, I think it would have to be a conversation, right, with me and the wife, and seeing like, is this what we want to do? But thankfully, we never got that feeling.
Yeah, that's great.
We thought all the interactions were amazing. Again, all communications were great.
Did you do like video calls before this, or was it just strictly email?
Email and video calls. The
Okay,
first meeting, I want to say, we did a video call. I'm trying to remember.
I think you can get a lot out of a video call too. It's not obviously in person, but I think you can get a good sense of someone that you might be working with through that.
Yeah. I forgot. When we were there in October, we also did a photo shoot with our photographers.
Oh yeah, that's great. Good idea to combine those events. Yeah.
We got a lot done in October. We got so much done. We were there for, I want to say, maybe like a week, 10 days, something like that.
Did you get a chance to relax at all, or was it go, go, go with wedding planning because you had to do so much in that short period of time? You were only there for so long.
Okay, Chris, because of the time change, the way our days worked is we would wake up at like 9 o'clock, give or take. We would get breakfast, and then we would run whatever errands we needed to do. And like, we wouldn't run them at super crate because we were there for like 7 to 8 days, so we had time. We would do like, one day would be like a cake tasting. One day would be photographs. One day would be, meet with a caterer or whatever. So like, we wouldn't like totally load them. So we do that until about 4 o'clock ish. We would come back to the hotel, and then we would start the work day. So it would be like 5 p.m. local to about midnight, give or take. And that schedule is so much better than what we have now. Like, work from like 9 a.m. till, 5 p.m. and then you're exhausted. You're not getting anything done after work. It's dark. In Chicago, at least, the traffic is abysmal, right? They're making everyone go back to the office, which means every car is out on the streets driving everywhere. So I liked it so much more. It was so much more like, we didn't relax, but the pace was relaxing, which was nice.
All right. I think let's get into the big day, right? Like, there's a lot of like setup, but I think it was important to go over all of that because like there were potentially like a lot of challenges in just getting to the day, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the big day. Like, you tell me where you want to start, but maybe like welcome drinks maybe is a good way because you guys had an awesome venue for that.
Yeah. So here's the cool thing about having a wedding planner that was really good. I couldn't tell you any of that stuff. Right? Like, being honest, I knew basically what was going on, like, because like we decided the timeline and everything, but we had a like welcome band, like 2 guitarists playing like, traditional Mediterranean Greek sounding music. Didn't hear them once, no idea, right?
You just
yeah, I was just, we were doing like photography and stuff. From what I understand, there was issues with the shuttle at one point. Didn't hear, like, it got stuck going up the ramp. Didn't hear about that until like after the wedding. Let me think.
Which is the sign of a good wedding planner, that you're not hearing about any problems.
Exactly. So leading up to the day of, only thing I had to do was get ready, right? And fellas, if you're gonna wear a bow tie, make sure you know how to tie a bow tie.
I remember getting the text message in the group chat. Yeah.
So we didn't have a wedding party. We had my best man, we had my kubaro, and then we had my officiant, right? And they were lined up around me. One was holding up a phone on a YouTube video, like how to tie a bow tie, and the other 2 were like trying to finesse it. Chris, I shit you not, we were there for like 20, 30 minutes trying to figure this thing out. The camera guy is like in the back here. He's like at first, he's like, oh, this is great pictures, are hilarious, funny, ah, ha, ha, ha. But like, that's a minute.
20 minutes later.
20 minutes later, he's like, guys, we're gonna be late here. What's going on? So we finally got the bow tie tied, and since that day, I don't care if I look like a douchebag, pretender, whatever. Clip-on bow tie or pre-tied, don't care. I do not want to deal with it. I don't wear it enough to know how to tie a bow tie.
You should be wearing one every day from now on.
Yeah, man. And like every single time someone would like, because people knew, like, I told people I complained, and people would like try and touch it. I'm like, no, stay away. We are not touching this. I have no idea how to retie it. We're not doing it. To be fair, I feel like my wedding planner probably knew how to tie it. And if I asked her, she probably, because Chris, I had the same issue with your wedding. And your wedding planner tied my bow tie twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did not realize that at all.
Because I gave C my pre-tied one. Yeah.
That's probably a good call.
Right. Yeah, so that was the biggest thing I had to worry about was tying a bow tie. And it was not my finest moment. So guests arriving, all that stuff, like I had no part in it, which is we've talked about this, right? We've talked about like, do you need a full service versus 30-day up? You need a day of coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Like no offense or buts about it. Otherwise, you're going to be tying your bow tie while chasing Uncle Bob to tell him to go to sea. You know, like
Yep.
you can't do that.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, testament to my wedding planner. I didn't have to worry about anything besides getting ready, which is great.
Yeah, I'll say also a good wedding planner also has like a little toolkit with them, so they have like, safety pins and, extra
Yes,
this or that just to make sure that, everything goes without a hitch. So that's a good sign.
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll keep walking us through. I mean, I know that was like the start of the wedding day, but where were we for like, like when you got ready and it was like welcome drinks out by the
Mhm.
sea. I think this was the day before the wedding, correct?
Oh, you're talking about the welcome part, the welcome
Yeah,
party
the
the day
welcome
before.
party. Yep. Yep. So walk us through
Yeah.
maybe that event and like how that came together and what you wanted to accomplish.
So one of the really cool things about Corfu, not just Corfu, but some of the Greek islands, they have like mini islands that just have churches on them, and those are just absolutely gorgeous. And I know when we were first looking at this, Gina kind of wanted to see about getting married in one of those because you would have to go on a boat. It just looks really cool. And she really loves the water. So we knew when we were planning that water, if we could, we were going to do something involving the water. Unfortunately, getting married at one of those churches wasn't in the cards, partly because transportation is a pain. Our wedding planner had told us, like, listen, you can do the church stuff, but you're going to start way earlier. It's going to be hot. We've had people faint. It's potentially just a logistical nightmare. So we're like, okay, fine, that's not going to happen. So at that point, it almost felt like our water idea wasn't going to happen. But while this was happening, we kept looking for a welcome party venue. And we were having so many issues because we wanted it on the water in Corfu Old Town. And Chris, you saw Corfu Old Town is popping, right? And the venues that are on the water are exclusive is maybe not the right word, but like they all have like they all need minimums, they all need exclusivities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we had no problem if it was a minimum, but of the way they were pricing themselves, you had to pay just a reservation deposit, which doesn't go towards any food and beverage.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we're like, this is dumb. Like, we don't want to do this. It's stupid. We found one place that didn't do that. Instead, they just like charged, food and bev. And that's the place we ended up deciding. It was on the water. And then as soon as we ended up getting that place that was on the water, which is actually kind of funny. We originally asked this place months before we decided on it. And the menu they gave back to us, we thought felt too much like another wedding. It was like seated. It was like lamb and chicken and salad. Like, it felt heavy. We're like, it's gonna be a wedding and then another wedding. We don't want that. We actually went back to him and be like, hey, listen, we really like this. Like, do you have a simpler menu? Just finger foods and drinks. That's all we really wanted. And thankfully, we would provide that. But now we're on the water. We're literally right on the water.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was so nice. And at that point, we're messaging our wedding planner. We're like, hey, we've seen some couples that you have that have like a photo shoot on a boat. Can we do this? So she puts us in contact with the boat, and the timing for our welcome party and the boat don't line up. They're like an hour and a half apart or something. The boat's available starting at like, I forget, like 7, and the welcome party was start at like 6. So we're like, okay, this is not going to happen. The week of, or maybe like the month before, we're like, why don't we just move the welcome party and get on the boat? Okay. So we moved the welcome party an hour. We had to communicate that everyone because it was on our website. It was starting at 6. It was on our like stationery, like everything. It was starting at 6. So we had to communicate to everyone that actually is starting an hour later at 7, which allowed us to get on the boat. Which, like, the pictures on the boat look beautiful. Entering on the boat is like so cool. You feel almost like James Bond in a way.
It was very cool.
My only issue with it is my parents were late, and they were the only ones that did not see us arriving on the boat. Chris, like, we paid the boat for an hour, right? And if you were just, straight shot from like where the boat picked us up to where the boat dropped us off, it's 5 minutes. So the boat is literally just doing circles in the pier, taking pictures for an hour. And the guy's like, listen, I can stay here. You got to pay me for another hour. And like, that would have been like $1,000. And we're like, so I texted
Time
him.
to go in.
I texted him, like, who's not there? The only people that are not there were my parents. I'm like, okay, well, at this point, we're just going to have to go. You know, like it is what it is. So we arrive. My parents missed the entrance, but it's sweet because the restaurant is literally right on the dock.
Yeah.
You know, like you could literally just like take a step, go right in the water.
You pulled up right to it. It was a really cool entrance.
Yeah. So we're like, perfect. We got the boat done. We got the water. And our welcome party, I loved.
Yeah.
I thought the food was great.
Yep.
Food and drinks
were great.
The drinks were awesome. Yep. Right. The drinks were really good. The bartenders were like really attentive to the people. And quick. Exactly. The weather was gorgeous. You know, you're overlooking the old fortress in the background. It's just such a beautiful scene. When we did end up booking the welcome party, we actually added another day of photography. So we had a photographer there as well, which is really nice, you know, taking pictures. So overall, the welcome party was great. It was 4 hours, right? From like 7 to 11 or something. I know some people went out afterwards. I mean, you're in Old Town, right? You're in Old Town on a Saturday. So people had a blast, which is exactly what we wanted. And we went home at like midnight.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, when did you decide did you have a plan to go to bed earlier because you wanted to be fresh for the next day? Or were you trying to stay out late because you could sleep in a little bit and adjust your clock?
Of course we had a plan to go to sleep earlier. It didn't fucking happen, but of course we had a plan to go to sleep earlier. Gentlemen, go to sleep as early as you possibly can before your wedding.
Yes.
And like, the reality is that is your intention. It'll probably not happen, right? I know that our issue is that we still had songs to pick. The
day before?
Yes. We were finalizing our songs. I think we finalized all our songs at like 6 a.m. the day of, I want to say. Because we're going to go over this in an episode. There's so many songs you have to pick. It is mind-boggling how many songs you have to pick. Gina's like sitting there. She's like, okay, I need a song for your entrance. I'm like, spoiler alert, I chose the Legend of Zelda theme.
I am not surprised by either your choice or that you were picking songs the day before.
Real quick, I chose Legend of Zelda theme, and Gina was like, what is this song? No one's ever heard this before. I'm like, I guarantee you there will be at least a few people who know this song. I knew Gabe was there. He was going to know it. More people than just Gabe knew it. A lot of people knew that song. I was like, nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So we're doing like last minute admin stuff for the wedding. You know, we're counting money. Because the other thing is that everything is done in cash there. Mm-hmm. So like we had envelopes for, you know, the caterer, for the DJ, for this. We had like tips set to the side. So we're doing a lot of like that kind of admin.
Did you hand that to your coordinator? Or your planner to like dole out to all of the different vendors, or were you giving that to them directly?
No, so everything went through our coordinator. When did we pay her? I think we actually paid her maybe 2 days before the wedding. We finalized everything, but we also had set aside money to give like tip everyone, right? So we were like spreading that around. The money was another hilarious thing. So we were paying in cash primarily, and if you're traveling and you need cash, the Charles Schwab investment checking account thing, whatever, it has no foreign transaction fees. So you can go to ATM and you don't get charged, and it gives you a spot rate, which is fantastic. The problem is your limit is, I want to say like $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
Maybe, give or take. Yeah. So we were in Greece for, before our wedding, maybe 12 days total. So we were strategic about hitting an ATM on each day. We were like, leading up to when we had to pay all this money, Chris, I was like a hawk on that money bag. I'm like, it was like a man bag, you know, like a not a satchel. What are they called?
Sling bag.
Sling bag, crossbody. Yeah. So like we're walking, I'm like always grabbing it. Like it's tight. Just, that was stressful. Carrying all that money around was stressful.
Was it in local currency or US?
No, it was in Euro.
Yep.
It was in Euro. They're not going to take USD.
I didn't think so, but yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, everything was in Euro. That was rough.
But yeah, conversion not in our favor.
Actually,
was it close at that point?
Yeah, it swung quite a bit. At some points, I remember we made some deposits. It was like 1.05 to 1, which is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And then at other points, it got as high as like 1.1 to 1.
Oh,
but like
wow.
it was never obscene, which is nice.
Yeah, that's great timing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We definitely got lucky on that.
Cool. All right, so let's like maybe switch back to the day of. So you are now. What time did you have? Were you able to sleep until? Like, since you stayed up later, like, what time did you have to? What was like your first event? When do you have to start getting ready?
So I could be remembering my times wrong. This is like 6 months ago, but I feel like we went to sleep at like 3 a.m. and we woke up at like 7 a.m., maybe 6 a.m., give or take.
Rough.
So rough, dude. It was bad, and it wasn't as bad for me as it was for Gina. So, fellas, your wife will start getting ready like a day before you. It's crazy, and I'm thankful we didn't have any sort of wedding stuff going. So our ceremony was starting at 6:30, I believe, 6 or 6:30. If you have a wedding, let's say at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock noon, man, you would be waking up at like 6 a.m. to start makeup and hair and all that nonsense. So thankfully, our hair and makeup wasn't going to get there until like 11 o'clock, I think. Again, I'm not exactly sure, but it was about that time. Which was, again, more stressful for Gina than it was for me because, like she had more to do than I did.
A lot more involved, yeah.
A lot more involved, yeah. But yeah, first thing I did, I'm like, Nick, I need coffee. I need a lot of coffee. And the next thing I did is I started writing my vows. That's the other thing I hadn't finished yet. It's like, it's not that I was going in fresh. Like I had an idea in my mind, I had notes jotted down, but like I hadn't actually physically wrote it all down yet. So I was working on that. There's a picture of me like with like 4 or 5 frappes, maybe like a pastry and like writing down my vows. It was great. So yeah, that was probably like 2 p.m. give or take. Then the photographers came. We did like getting ready shots with my dad, my kumbaro, best man. Trying to think, and then after that we had the first look, which I think, if I remember right, we had the first look when people were starting to show up, give or take, right around there. And then we also had we pre-read our vows to each other before we read in front of everyone, and then like all this was happening. It's crazy because I'm saying this and like point by point, and it doesn't sound like it takes a long time, right? But like these 4 points were in the span of like 6 hours. Like everything just takes so much longer than you think. I took pictures with my parents. I took pictures with the guys. I took pictures by myself. Me and Gina took pictures. We did all this stuff. And then at some point, it's time for the wedding. It's like
Showtime.
6 o'clock. Yeah, exactly. Showtime. And we had essentially like a little ceremony. It was hot, so we're like, make this short. We talked to our officiant, which is my cousin. I'm like, Fonda, it's gonna be short, 15 minutes. It's gonna be hot. We need people to drink. So he did a great job. We got up there. We said our vows in front of everyone. Said I do, and then this is one of the regrets that I have is when you're doing pictures with everyone, Chris, this is why I think you guys did it so well. Be organized. So I had a list of like who we wanted pictures with, right? Like our parents, our cousins, family, friends, whatever the case may be. And the problem is that list was lost. So we were a little scattershot, like we had to find people. Like,
oh no,
we didn't know where they were. It was getting hot. People had to sit down. So it was a bit of a bum rush to like get all the pictures we needed. So one thing I recommend is have a list for yourself of all the pictures you have to take, right? Because you're going to forget stuff. There's just so much going on. Like everyone is vying for your attention. You're going to forget something. Just have that list. It doesn't really cost you anything and it's good to have. So we took pictures. The bar was open. People enjoyed themselves. Thankfully, yeah, right? And then at that point, we sat down and there were either our first dance was first or we had speeches first. I'm trying to remember which.
Ooh, I don't remember, but I thought you came out, did your dance, which was awesome and well done, and then you went into speeches, I think.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
Well, so the reason why neither of us remember that correctly is because our DJ was a great DJ, non-existent MC. So annoying. We had a meeting with him like 2 days before, and he's like, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable saying the names of Americans," and I'm like, "Names of Americans? You have to say Anasti, Vasily. Like these are easy names
Yeah,
for you to say.
yeah.
Yeah, Fonda. Like these aren't going to be hard for you." Anyway, so like he didn't say a word, and I remember our first dance starting only because I heard the music starting. I'm like, oh
You're
shit,
like, oh,
we got to go. Yeah, we're moving. We're going. And that's so annoying. So like, yeah, I don't remember how that went. I don't remember the timing.
it didn't look like anything was wrong or rushed, but obviously, like in your mind how it's supposed to go.
And that's the other thing a lot of people need to realize. You will pick up on things that are wrong because you're going to spend like a year just looking at everything. But like a lot of people won't notice whatsoever. But I noticed. It's so annoying. Anyway, so we had speeches. We had the first dance. We ate. Me and Gina ate nothing. Our table was loaded with food. However, we were taken out to do pictures. So during that time when people were eating is also like the best time for lighting for pictures. So we ate nothing. We had maybe like a piece of bread here and there, you know?
Classic mistake.
Fellas, eat something. Eat as much as you can.
Like
it's
the number one tip everyone gives, and like no one can ever follow, and everyone keeps making the same mistake.
Because when it comes to the wedding, the first thing that you can like skip out on is food, you know, and that's the first thing you skip on. You're like, okay, I'll eat it later, but like, there's never a later.
There's so many distractions. There's so much to do that it just gets pushed to the back.
Exactly. So we took pictures. We came back and we had mother son and father daughter dances, I want to say, which again, annoying. The DJ never once brought him up. The only reason Gina knew to go dance with her stepdad is because we heard the song. We're like, oh my God, this is your song. You got to go. And the same thing with my mom. Like we heard the song and it's like, I remember for the very beginning of Gina's dance, like there was someone on the dance floor because they had no idea they were doing the Mother Sunday because the DJ didn't say anything. It was so stupid. It's like one of those things that you're like, anyway. And then we had the espresso martini tower,
which was amazing. It was perfectly timed. It was beautiful. They were delicious. And yeah. Much needed caffeine entered everyone's bloodstream at the exact right time.
So Chris, that espresso martini tower, we made that decision, I don't know, probably 2 days before the wedding. We're like, let's do it. We were going back and forth. We're like, do we need this? You know, like, and the other thing, so like they give you size options. It was like 60, 75, or 90. So we're sitting there and we're like, my parents, are they going to like this? They're not going to know what this is. There's going to be like 5 people that drink it. Like, should we get this many? I think we settled on like 75 for that reason. And for a last minute addition, this is the best espresso martini I've ever had in my life. It was like unbelievable how much people love these espresso martinis, how much we loved it. The only pictures we printed out so far of our wedding is the espresso martini related pictures. We love those pictures. They are so cool. The event was so awesome. People love the tower, the espresso martini itself. People still talk about it. Like we still talk about it. It's wild because this is a last minute decision and we're like enamored by it. It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so good. So good. And like our bartenders themselves were really good. You know, like the drinks, we had an old fashioned. It was like a legitimate old fashioned. Like you know, you're in the States, you go to like an old school Italian restaurant, you order an old fashioned, and it's like watered down, not even bourbon, it's watered down whiskey with like tonic water, a freaking maraschino cherry.
Fruit. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, just this is like a legit old fashioned. I was like, damn, okay, cool. It was made with Buffalo Trace. Didn't request it, but I appreciate it.
That's perfect. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. What more do you need? And then we had the dancing, right? So this is where I don't want to be too hard on my DJ because I thought as a DJ, he was really good. I thought the music was great. We gave him, essentially, our instructions were, see what the crowd is feeling. We want Greek, we want Albanian, and we want American music, right? But like, don't force it. You know, if the crowd is jamming to one, keep it going. You know, a lot of circle dancing. It was a lot of fun. You know, like there, he was a great DJ. Like 0 complaints on keeping the party going.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, obviously having partook in the dancing, like I think he did a pretty good job. I mean, there's just a million people there. So like everyone's just talking. It's a beautiful like venue. So there was all these little different places you can kind of go and take pictures and kind of just also separate yourself from the wedding for, like 5 minutes as you like got a drink or just wanted to take a break from dancing or just wanted to look out. Because like your venue was up high on a hill and you can look out over the city and look over the island, which was like it was just beautiful, obviously, as the sun was setting. So just the venue itself, like the party was contained, but then it allowed you to kind of like go have these little moments, and it was like great.
The most fun was people started taking shots of the tsipuro, the raki, on the tables. So one of the things that I requested from my grandfather specifically, he's from Albania and he makes his own raki. For people that don't know, raki is like it's like moonshine, kind of. Right?
Yeah,
It's like Balkan moonshine.
Yeah.
And like all those areas make
clear alcohol content, really intense flavor.
Yes. And all of those areas make some version of it, right? The Greeks call it tsipuro, Albanians call it raki. I think the Turks call it rakia, maybe. I don't know. It's all the same stuff. And if you go to any winery in that area, you can ask them for like some tsipuro as well. They'll give it to you. They'll be like, oh, cool, perfect. So I had my grandfather make some, bottle some, and bring it. And we had it at each of the tables. And at some point in the night,
so I can take over.
Actually, yeah, tell me the story.
So Harold comes over and he's like, and we already kind of like sampled it or whatever. We had opened ours at least, right? Because of course. Harold comes over and is like, do you know like what this is? And we're like, yes, we kind of already knew. And he's like, like, oh, do you know the cheers? And do you know like all the different sayings and stuff? And we're like, no, like teach us. And so he, we poured another round and he's walking us through all the different sayings. And then for some reason, like because the tables were long, right? And they were kind of like, not everyone could talk to each other like at one end to the other.
Yes.
And so there was like little groups dispersed and we saw that like half of our table was not really paying attention. And so I don't remember who started it, but we just started calling out people that were not taking it and then putting them on blast to like take a shot. And so we started calling out people that were like our age at the end of the table, and then they all like partook. And then I think it was maybe Harold like started pointing out like other family members and other people at different tables. And so then we just started going around like calling people out to take shots. And so like it was amazing. Like it was so much fun, so unexpected, so random.
It's so random, yeah.
What was great though is like all of your like everyone, like all of the family members, regardless of age, we were like just chanting different people's names, and 70, 80-year-old, grandmothers and aunties and uncles were partaking and drinking and having a good time and just, participated. Like no one was above it. It was amazing.
Gina and I I forgot where we were. We were like, mingling around the wedding, and we just hear in the background, Greg. And we're like, what is going on? So we look, and like, Greg is my brother-in-law. He's just like taking a swig straight up. I'm like, holy shit. And then just kind of went around and just kept going. And then eventually got to my dad, like you're saying, the old people. And they're like, Vasily. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to do it. And he did it. It was amazing. It was so much fun. It was so cool. I loved it. Like when I saw people do that, and like my grandfather loved it too. They're drinking all of it. It's amazing. That's what you want. It was like, that was definitely one of my most memorable moments of the night. I'm just swinging this alcohol, like it was great. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, that was cool. And then I also remember just like towards the end of the night, also like the DJ maybe repositioning to like more towards the entrance. There was like a smaller like stone courtyard. And
there's a reason for that.
Because like noise.
Yeah, so there's an ordinance in the village where you can't be noisy past, I'm gonna say like 11:30. And so because of that, we had to reposition the dance floor to that like courtyard kind of where there's more trees, so like it doesn't really travel out. And that dance floor went into like 2:30 or something.
Yeah, and there was like obviously everyone like from like our friends group for the most part like keeping the party going, but like that was a fun time too because it was just like, then the party got to maybe like 30-ish, 40-ish people, by that point, the late night crew, and it's just like everyone cutting loose, people just all these friends from all over that we've made over the years, just like coming together and having a good time in a different country and celebrating you both. So like that was just like, it was just like super cool moment, and just like your DJ was killing it with the vibes.
Oh man, okay, so that was actually a different DJ. I didn't realize that either. Let me complain about my DJ one more time. This is my hobby horse, apparently. I had given the DJ a list of songs that I did not want him to play. It was all of the dance songs, like the Cha-Cha Slide, the Casper Slide, Cupid Shuffle, like all this crap. And I remember hearing one of those songs play, and I'm like, oh. So I went over to him. Like at that point, I'm like, can you please play like some Zambetico or something, which is like the drunken dance that the Greeks do. And then it got better. But like, here's the thing. Everything for my wedding went so well that like the only thing I have to complain about is like the DJ not emceeing correctly. Like that's it. That's my complaint.
Well, that's also important too. The do not playlist is also a very critical piece of the playlist. So also make sure you're thinking about what you don't want to hear. And then having that conversation with your DJ to be like, because, there's going to be a couple drunk people that come up and request it and be like, no, you're not give in.
Exactly.
Then the dance floor kind of condensed, and because of the noise ordinance, but like it still kind of made it like super intimate in this like nice little area. So like that was a lot of fun. And then what happened? What happened after that? Because I think we did leave because there was like the last shuttle at around 2 or 3. So then did the party continue like afterwards and late night with just the wedding party, or what happened?
Yeah, so there were, I want to say, maybe like 8 people that stayed. And those are people that drove, that had a way of getting home, right? So Vula stayed, Vula and Eric, Chris and Rula stayed because they also had a car. And we just kind of like hung out at the pool, right? Just chilled.
Amazing to have that built in.
Dude, that pool, so spoiler alert, the next day, we had a pool party at that pool. And this is also one of the things that we kind of decided last minute. I forgot how it came up. Like we were talking to our wedding planner, and we're like, "Can we just use the pool?" I was like, "The after party." She's like, "Yeah, of course. I'll talk to the owner." I'm like, "Okay, cool, perfect." That after party, the best. It started at like 1 o'clock, I think, so pretty late. And my sister secured catering at this like local souvlaki spot. They gave us souvlaki, saniro. They gave us pizza, ton of fries, salad. I think there was some teropitas, maybe. Or
just the spread was amazing, but it's all this like just traditional Greek food, but finger foods too. And it was just hitting the spot after having drank so much the night before, and obviously continuing the party into the next day. It was just like the perfect amount of like just greasy, fatty, carby food that just like everyone was craving.
I loved everything about our wedding. I loved our like exit party, whatever you want to call it, our brunch, because it was like so relaxing. Everyone was just having a good time. The pool is huge, so it could fit everyone, right?
Perfect day.
Exact day was beautiful. I think we may have had like 60-ish, 70 people there, which
but you didn't feel it because obviously the venue's built for to like have big parties, but there's also like there were shaded areas. There was like this little like cabana area, so like everyone can kind of break off and then like come together and like break off and just like chill in the pool. So like it was a lot of fun.
No, I love the pool party. It was so nice. It was so relaxing. I think people stayed until like 7-8 o'clock, maybe later than that. Like, and it just like zero expectations, just chill. That's all it was, just relax. My cousin, he's like, "Did you know there's a sauna in here?" I'm like, "Shit, there's a sauna in the villa." He's like, "Yeah, let me show you." So he was just like going in there, in and out of the sauna, jumping in the pool. He was like doing his own like cryotherapy version, but the pool was like 70 degrees, so it's not really getting cold. But like, yeah, there was a sauna in the pool. It's like, okay, perfect. The pool was great. People had drones. It was amazing. It was so much fun. I loved it.
It was an amazing weekend. Everyone raved about it. Everyone had a lot of fun. So like, you should be very happy with how everything turned out.
Very happy.
Is there anything besides maybe the DJ that you may, or timing wise, scheduling wise, that, maybe as we kind of wrapping up here, that you might, just a quick like lessons learned, or you might do something differently if you did it all over again? Just kind of quickly here.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is, I know I heaped a lot of praise on our wedding planner, but take a step back. At every step, me and my wife are on the same page, which helps a ton, right? Like we're both like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to get it done. There's no like miscommunication on it, no arguing on it. Like, it was all good vibes. And that helped so much, so like make sure you guys are on the same page with like everything to do for the wedding itself. Then obviously the wedding planner was fantastic. I couldn't have imagined this happening without the wedding planner. Like we never felt any of the like setup or takedown of the event ever. Like we were never aware of it. Like we had no idea, which is the highest testament you can make, just all happening on the background. We loved our photographer, splurge on a good photographer. This is like, it's one of those things where I know when you're looking at what everything costs, and you see like, is a photographer really that much? Especially in the States. I know photographers in the States get expensive. In Greece, it wasn't like as egregious, so I can talk about this much more like easily, obviously. In the States, I see they get expensive, but like, these are things that you're going to remember. You're going to look back 10, 20 years from now. You'd be like, wow, I'm so glad these pictures turned out so well.
Yeah.
No one's going to remember that you had like filet versus a chicken breast.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. I think food is like a part of it, but like if you're going to splurge in a certain area, or you only have certain areas you can splurge, one of them should be photographer, because those are the memories that you're going to keep and take on with you, afterwards.
Yeah. And I know we, like, for our food, I think we picked like a middle of the road option price wise, which I didn't eat any. So I don't know. Like, Chris, you tell me, was the food good? Like, I couldn't tell you.
You had two photographers for your.
Yes, we had two photographers.
Yeah.
We also had a videographer, which we've gotten our video back. Couldn't be happier with it. It's amazing. I'm so glad we spent on the videographer. Obviously, if you're going to choose, do the photographer, but if you can afford to, like, a nice videographer is a nice touch. It's a good capstone. It's a different vibe. Our DJ was good, but again, besides the emceeing thing, like, at this point, I'm nitpicking. Eat, find moments to like bite on something. Find the other thing that I'll say is everyone is focusing on you. Find moments to focus on your wife. It's very easy to just kind of focus on other people because they wanted your attention. But like, Chris, Gina looked amazing that night. Like, I'm like, let me be as close to you as possible. Bring her close, cop a feel here and there. Like this is who you're getting married to. Like,
yeah, celebrate it together.
Stay on them, yeah, celebrate it together, 100%. It makes it so much more fun. Like there's so many like random pictures of us just like together that look great just because we're together. Like, don't forget that. And then like, this is basic. Eat, stay hydrated, get some rest before. Like, these are all things that we're going to tell you.
3 a.m.
Yeah, these are all things that we're going to tell you. Like, you're not going to listen. But like, and the crazy part is you're not going to listen, and it's going to come to your wedding day. And Chris, I'm assuming this was the same for you. You will be fucking wired. You will be running on adrenaline. Like, you won't be tired until like the next day. Then you realize you're like, oh shit.
All right. To close out, I'll just ask one question, because I think it's probably like very focused to guys too. Were you drinking as you were getting ready, or did you hold off until like you got to the wedding?
I'm trying to remember. I feel like as I've gotten older, I drink less. I was drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah, same.
I was popping them. Espresso here, espresso there, frappe here, frappe there. Like, give me it all the caffeine. I wasn't really drinking too much. I didn't really start drinking until the wedding itself, when the bar was set up.
Yeah, I think that would be a good tip for a lot of our, guys out there, right? Like, there's gonna be plenty of time to get crazy, and not saying you can't have a drink beforehand, but just take it easy and go light there, because like you want to remember this day and you want to be engaged, and there's a lot to do.
Because you're an engaged groom, Chris. That's why.
Exactly. So just take it easy there and just, pace yourself, I guess.
Yes. You don't want your wife to, like, first thing she does as a married woman is babysit a drunk bro on the floor.
That's just selfish. It's just selfish.
It's not even, it's selfish. Yes, I agree. But like, it's also stupid because it's not in your benefit.
Also, you just paid all this money. So like,
paid so much money.
It,
yeah, exactly. Enjoy it.
Don't ruin it.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't drink too much. I drank like a good amount to enjoy it, but like, I didn't get drunk, like barely tipsy, I would say. Because like, I'm also tired. Who knows how bad it could have gotten if I like started really drinking,
Exactly.
You know,
So don't start too early.
yeah. I have one more complaint. Again, the DJ. He never announced when there were like midnight snacks. We had these like little souvlaki midnight snacks. He never announced it. My wife didn't get any. I got 2, which to be fair, I should have brought her 1. So that's partially my fault. But he never announced it. So like no one knew. He also didn't announce the dessert. So like people didn't know there was dessert laying around. Like from what I heard, there were some people who didn't get any dessert because like had no idea where it was.
That's disappointing. But again,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to remember that at all.
Yeah, hopefully.
It just goes to show, like, these are the conversations to have with the you know, your DJ. Like that, these are good tips, right? To take forward for other people to learn from.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like overall, again, if I complain, I'm just nitpicking.
Yeah, you're nitpicking because, like, again, overall, it was an amazing from the welcome drinks to the late night snacks to the day after party, right? Like,
look,
everything from the perspective of the guest was like flawless, and you could not tell.
Good, I'm glad. That's exactly what we want to hear, right? That's good to hear, though.
Yeah, and so I just think you guys did a great job, and you should be very happy, and you know, can't wait to see more of the pictures come out.
Yeah, oh, man, I think Gina was going over them for a couple months to figure out like the best pictures to pose. You know, because like the good thing about having a good photographer and having multiple events is you also have so many pictures. So you're just like analysis paralysis. You have so many options. It's just crazy. But yeah, it's couldn't be happier. Everything was amazing.
Cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. Anything else you want to say?
Chris, I think I've spoken enough. But next week, we're going to be talking about your wedding.
Yeah, you can grill me now.
Chris, you have a crazy story in there.
That's true.
I can't wait to get to.
Well, I look forward to sharing it with everybody.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. I'll see you next week.
See everybody next week.